Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Which then puts us into movies. So movies section is going to be relatively quick. This is it's a little late. I got a late start on the research and the filming and such for this episode, so that's why we're kind of breezing through things. But follow-ups for the movies section. We're going to start with Fast 10. The 10th iteration of Fast and Furious franchise has officially cast Brie Larson as an undisclosed character, though according to Vin Diesel, she's going to be a major part of at least this movie, if not the franchise going forward, which has Brie Larson super happy, and why do we care if Brie Larson is super happy? It's just, and the expectations of quality with this series are different. So I feel like this will be a great platform for Brie Larson, actually. So sure, fine, okay. Let's just make this just go absolutely over the top and ridiculous with this, because they get it out of your system so that you don't expect it out of every other movie that you're in going forward. And I'm looking at you, Vin and Brie. All right. We also have the finalization. All right, so we did get the closing of the deal between Warner Brothers and Discovery, and we now know for certain that that deal did include DC in all of its capacities: movies, TV, comic books, and games, which is pretty huge, that last one, because at least if you are a fan of the channel at all, or you follow the channel, then you'll know that one of my favorite IPs is Mortal Kombat, gaming IPs very specifically, and the studio that makes Mortal Kombat also does the Injustice games. And so the Injustice games, it's not going to be an Injustice game next. That was it's fairly evident at this point. There is every reason to believe that it's not going to be Injustice next. And really, it's not going to be Injustice next. So the reasoning behind that is very much been left up to speculation. And largely the assumption is that the merger of Discovery and WB put those properties in limbo. Will they have the ability? Will DC and Warner Brothers characters be okay together? It sounds like potentially no. Because NetherRealm is not a DC gaming company, DC was very much a part of this. I was unable to find if there was a specific mention of NetherRealm in the final notes, but as more comes out about this merger, we will definitely be talking about it. But under the assumption that NetherRealm and DC are split now, we very likely will not see any more Injustice games. It will just be Mortal Kombat and whatever new IP it is that they're working on currently. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting situation. Again, be keeping tabs on this, and as more comes out, we'll be talking about it. But moving right along, we have a real quickie from the Netflix, and that is about the Adam Project. Adam Project is now apparently the 4th most watched movie on the platform ever, which is huge. Again, I'll restate what I said when that movie first came out, and I made it my suggestion that week for movies to watch, and that is, this is a movie that proves that you don't need to set up something going forward. You don't have to have a sequel. You don't have to create a universe. You can just create a fun popcorn movie and have it be worth something. Have that be the thing that draws people to the outlet in which they can watch it. So since it's a Netflix movie, it's not exactly like it's going to pull people into the theaters, but if it had been a traditional studio movie, it would have probably pulled people to the theaters, and it probably would have made a whole bunch of money too. So this is a lovely example of the potential for current Hollywood. Whether or not that potential gets realized is definitely remains to be seen. But either way, there's hope, and we're gonna move a little past the hopium and kind of actually squash it, because now we're moving into movie news. And honestly, I probably should have put this in TV, but movie was a little light, and he was in movies. But Gilbert Gottfried has passed on. Apparently, Gilbert had a very rare muscular disease, and I wrote it down so that we could talk about it. But the name of it is recurrent ventricular tachycardia due to myotonic dystrophy type 2. That's a lot of words, a lot of big words. So sad day. We have lost another comedic legend. I just saw a video of him too, doing a shout out for Slipknot, saying that he was Tortilla Man. Oh man, Gilbert Gottfried was one of the highlights of the Bob Saget roast, to kind of add insult to injury with the passing of comedic legends in the last couple of months. But oh man, it's still pretty big. We're just gonna take a moment real quick and remember Gilbert Gottfried.
Mexican food. Why is love like a fart? If you have to force it, it's probably crap.
Okay, now that we're done with that sad piece out of the way, I told you I'm not going to put those at the end of the section if I can help it, and there is another piece for movies, and this one is actually quite strange. So Spirit Halloween, that is a store that is owned by Spencer's. Spencer's Gifts owns Spirit Halloween. I don't think I'm breaking new ground by announcing that, but somehow Spirit Halloween got a movie made after it, and this isn't something that's going to happen in the future. This is something that they just finished wrapping the production of. We are in post-production on this thing already, and that's not even the weirdest part about this. Christopher Lloyd is one of the stars of this movie, and that just made me go, well, now I have to see it, because A, weird, and B, Christopher freaking Lloyd is in a quote-unquote family, family-friendly adventure is how they are describing this. It sounds like there's a haunted Spirit Halloween store, and these three kids dare each other. I bet you can't stay the night in there on Halloween, and crazy ensues, and it sounds like another fun popcorn movie that's really not going to add anything to the conversation of film, but not every movie has to do that, and this sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Also in this, totally also random, Rachael Leigh Cook is the other adult star in this movie, and that just made it go, what? Rachael Leigh Cook, for those that may or may not know the name, she was in She's All That. She was the nerdy girl that they made over in that movie, and she becomes beautiful and whatnot. But yeah, just and she's been in plenty since, but that's just like the thing that millennials will know. This sounds like such a bonkers movie, and it's coming out this Halloween. Like I said, they just wrapped primary photography, so they're into post-production, and it's gonna happen. I hope this movie makes like $700 million. This is just nuts. I'm just going to keep in this rut if I don't move on. So we got to move on. But that's the end of the movie section. So let's get into movie suggestions. We have this week's suggestion is also a Netflix movie. And I honestly didn't think I was going to like this one. But Metal Lords, totally worth a watch, man. Like, I was blown away by this movie. Now, there is definitely some cringe in this movie, and really, really hardcore cringe, but I feel like the highs offset those really cringy lows of this movie so much so that it's absolutely worth a watch. And the Joe Manganiello cameo in this, was really off-putting because I almost didn't recognize the guy. He's built like a freaking door frame usually, but watch the movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. Still felt very appropriate in spite of the fact that he almost seemed out of place when you first saw him. So yeah, really fun movie, totally worth a watch, and kind of a caricature of a fair amount of things that happened to me in high school, not gonna lie. So yeah, Metal Lords movies recommendation. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.